Are you stuck wondering whether you should buy or rent? Quite honestly, it might be one of the biggest financial decisions you might ever make. And getting it wrong could cost you thousands of dollars and years of regret. The truth is, renting and buying both have their pros and cons, but the right choice depends entirely on your goals, your finances, and overall lifestyle. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the key differences, the hidden costs, and how to decide which option is best for you. Stick around because making the right choice here could change your financial future forever. What's up, everyone? My name is Jack Bouvier with the Bouvier Real Estate Group here at eXp Realty. I help thousands of people just like you decide whether a first house or continuing to rent is the right option for you. So if you have any questions about this process whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me. My contact details are in the description below, all my resources as well. If you have any questions about anything, be happy to connect with you and help out with your journey. Why the rent versus buying debate even matters? Well, at the end of the day, the stakes are quite high. This isn't just about where you live, but it's also about your long-term financial picture. Someone who rushes into buying a house might end up being house poor, while someone who rents too long might also miss out on building equity. Some common misconceptions that a lot of people say is renting is just throwing away money into a random landlord's hands. Buying is always the better investment. The right decision isn't about what others think, quite honestly. It's about what's right for your unique situation. So let's dive in. Here are the pros and the cons of renting. Some of the pros of renting are simply the flexibility. It's easier to move for work or for personal reasons. Shorter lease contracts allow you that flexibility compared to some of those long-term lease agreements make you stuck. But if you have those short-term month-to-month contracts, you got the flexibility to go move and try different places if you so please. You also have a whole lot less upfront costs. Your security deposits are a whole lot cheaper than down payments of a house. There's no maintenance costs. Landlords have to handle all of those repairs, and so you don't have to worry about any unexpected expenses. And that leads me on to my third point. You have a lot more predictable expenses. Your monthly rent is fixed, you have no surprise repair costs, and you have no property taxes that you need to pay. Now, some potential cons of renting are you don't have any equity building potential. You don't own this asset, so you're not paying off equity to your property every single month like you would be with a mortgage. Rent payments obviously go to your landlord, not towards your wealth. As well, there is limited control over the property, as there's no ability to make some of these major changes or renovations without the approval of the landlord and the property management company. Also, sometimes there are rent increases. Depending on what's happening in the market, landlords might decide to increase their rent when leases are renewed. And lastly, you do have the potential lack of stability. Long-term leases could end and forcing you to move out quickly, depending on what the landlord decides to do, depending on which province you live in. All the landlord laws are different, so knowing your landlord and tenant rights are crucial because sometimes you can be evicted quite early without notice. What are some of the pros and cons of buying? Well, some of the pros of buying are that you have that equity and that wealth building potential. Your mortgage payments are going to be building you equity over time, creating that long-term wealth. Let's say a $400,000 house bought today could appreciate to $500,000 in 10 years time. That's $100,000 in equity. There's also a whole lot more stability when it comes to owning a house. You have your fixed rate mortgage, which ensures predictable housing costs. It also allows you a lot of creative freedom. It allows you the ability to renovate, decorate, landscape to your liking, or if you want to tear it down and build a house, you can do that too. There's also tons of tax benefits here in Canada as well that you can leverage with your property. With rental properties, you're allowed to deduct your mortgage interest, property taxes, and other expenses as well. Now, some of the cons of buying your house is that there are a lot of upfront costs. You have to pay for your down payment, your closing costs, your moving expenses, and your insurance, your taxes, your utilities. They all add up quite quickly. Another thing is you have ongoing maintenance. You got to make sure that property is well kept. If you have anything that explodes or needs to be renovated immediately, if you have a roof leak or if you have a window bust or if you have some floor that's fallen apart, then you're going to have to make those renovations and have that budget to be able to renovate and keep your property well maintained. There's also less flexibility because selling a home takes a lot of time and involves a lot of additional costs like a professional real estate agent, staging, all the above. And there is also the market risk because just like the stock market, the real estate market goes up and down, and there's going to be peaks where you can sell and there's going to be dips where it's not a good time to sell. And depending on your situation and what's happening in the market, if you are in a tight spot and you need to sell, well, then you hope that the market's going to be in your favor. However, there is that risk associated with owning the property. So how do you decide? Well, step number one would be to simply assess your financial situation. Renting would be better if you have limited savings or an unstable income, or you need that flexibility to relocate for work or potential personal reasons. Buying would most likely be better if you have a stable income, you have solid savings, you plan to stay in one place for at least 5 to 7 years, or continue to rent it out as a rental property for that length of time. Step number 2 would be to assess your goals. Are you looking for stability in a long-term investment, or are you looking for flexibility and low upfront costs? Make sure you factor in the market, because renting makes sense in high-priced markets where home ownership might not be necessarily affordable. However, buying, on the other hand, makes sense in markets where home prices are a lot lower and there's lots of strong growth opportunity, like Saskatoon. Step number 4 would be to take into consideration those hidden costs. For buying, you have to take into consideration the property taxes, your maintenance, your insurance, your condo fees, all of the above. As for renting, you have to consider for a potential rent increase and limited control over your living space. Now, I always like to tell people to use the 5% rule. And what that is, it's a general rule of thumb to compare your annual rent to the total annual cost of home ownership, including your mortgage, taxes, and maintenance. So let's say if your annual rent is less than 5% of the home's value, renting might be a smarter financial move. Now, some tips on how to make the right choice. Do a rent versus buy calculation. Use some online tools on my website. There's a mortgage calculator, or consult a financial advisor to compare the costs, or a real estate agent as well that can provide you what the current prices for homes are and your monthly payments, what they'd be if you rent or buy. Another thing would be, don't get caught up in the goop. And what I mean by that is the good opinion of other people or the trends. Don't be a follower, be a leader. If your friends are renting properties, then you don't have to just go and rent another property because that's what all your friends are doing, and vice versa. If your friends are buying properties and you feel like renting is a better option, don't feel obligated that you have to buy a house. Just do what's right for you and assess your situation. Next is work with a real estate agent. An experienced agent can help you evaluate the market, find the best option for your situation, whether that is a rental property or a house to purchase. You're going to want to think long term. If you're going to be buying a place, plan to stay for at least 5 to 7 years to offset some of those transaction costs. If you're going to be renting, save and invest that money so you're going to be prepared for a down payment when you are ready to buy. Whether you decide to buy or rent, the key is understanding your financial situation, your goals, and lifestyle. Renting offers flexibility and lower upfront costs, while buying builds you that long-term wealth and stability. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but by asking the right questions and planning ahead, you can make the right choice for you. So if you have any questions on what's the best option for you, what's all entailed, and anything that I can help out with your real estate journey, please reach out to me. All my contact details are below, and I'd be happy to connect with you and help you achieve your real estate goals.